Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name is Ray Gage, and I'm here today with my co-host, D. Grant Smith. This is a new episode of AAA, All Angles Asked. D, we have a guest today.
Absolutely. I guess it's to me to introduce her. So my wife, Stephanie, regularly asks questions about our conversations, and we kind of end up having some additional feedback and insights and perspectives and questions asked from her to Ray and I in the follow-up to our episodes. And we had a chance for the three of us to just sit down and have a conversation today. And so we thought, why not have our first ever human guest? And so we're joined today by my beautiful, lovely, amazing wife, Stephanie.
And
Zoe, our little
doggy. She brings a lot to the table, and she teaches me a lot. So I thought it was good to acknowledge her.
For those of you listening on whatever listening devices you are, you're not going to hear her probably, but she is here. She's here in spirit for you.
Yes.
Yes, she's always present wherever she is.
Yeah. That is this little doggy teaches me so much about being present. She really does. Like, I feel like every day she invites me to come back, because I even catch myself. It's so easy with the phone to multitask and think I can, but I can't be fully present when I'm doing that. And so she'll just come up during the day, not to make this all about Zoe, but like she'll come and crawl into my lap and start licking my face while I'm looking at a screen. So she really is such a gift and an invitation. I know people listening, if they have furry friends, will understand.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
And if they don't, that's their problem.
Yeah.
So we were going to have, actually, this was supposed to be another conversation with another group. And as we all believe that there are no mistakes. So this is happening because it was supposed to happen. And we're just kind of going with the flow. But the subject of the other conversation actually is fascinating. And we could start there today. And since you guys are kind of facilitating that group, why don't you start us with what that subject is, kind of what your thoughts are about what you wanted to talk to the group about. And we'll just have that conversation with everyone that listens and go from there.
Oh, it's funny. So the group is CEOs, curious experience observers.
Mm-hmm.
This is the kind of a byproduct of sorts from a book group that we started in January, digging deeper and us exploring stories in a short story anthology that I wrote called The Resplendent Window. And we read that whole book, and each week we would talk about the stories and their meaning and make it the personal application for us. And then after it was over, we gelled and connected so well together. We wanted to keep meeting, and so we've been meeting once a month since that ended. And this was going to be our second conversation on that, but as luck or fate or however would have it, it's the three of us instead of the six of us that it was going to be. So the subject was something Stephanie brought up about a week and a half ago as we were celebrating or getting ready to celebrate 4th of July, which is all about freedom. But there's a real freedom that we have, and then there's kind of a faux freedom or a series of faux freedoms that we think that we have that can totally derail our sense of self, our ideas and understandings about what it means to be connected to God, what it means to be connected with each other, what it means to be connected with ourselves. And so Stephanie and I have been talking about the differences between real freedom and faux freedom as we also dive deeper into Course in Miracles and are exploring some different ideas. That's kind of what we wanted to talk about as a group today. And now we're going to be having this conversation with you, Ray, about the same thing.
But just imagine, though, how much bigger the group's going to be now that we're going to have this as a podcast recording, because not only can we share the podcast recording with the CEO group,
Yeah.
But now the conversation is shareable everywhere.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
So there's
It's right. And I was going to say too, just like a shameless plug of if anyone listening ever wants to join us, we meet on the second Monday of every month and everyone's welcome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
just at the end of our conversation, we'll remind you that in the show notes for All Angles Asked is the contact information for both Dee and myself. So you could reach out to probably Dee would be the best there if you're interested in that CEO Connect group based on our conversation.
Yeah. And the thing I'll say, to me, going deeper into true freedom for me is I have the ability and capacity to respond in, like, there's an autonomy in being able to respond how I want. Um, and not that I want, like, I get whatever I want, but I feel empowered in my response, no matter the circumstance that I'm in. And I've found, to tie it back again to the CEO group, we really are focusing on being curious experience observers. And there's such a freedom that, like, true freedom to me comes from that place of observing and getting curious about whatever we're experiencing. So I love all of this because it feels like it's all blending together really well.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
So you mentioned, Dee, a minute ago, you said that you guys were talking about what your thoughts were around both, you said true freedom, and I think you used the word faux. So basically true or fake.
Yeah, the FAUX kind of. Oh,
Right. So I think of faux and fake as the same thing, but maybe they're not in your mind. So what would you like? How would you define, like, to when you say is this true freedom or is this faux freedom? Give us an example of what your thoughts are around that.
so for me, the real and the false are both spiritual, psychological, metaphysical. So it's more of ideologies than it is really anything else. So if I think that I have freedom to well, I mean, we live in America, so there's this idea that we can do whatever we want here. But whatever energy it is that I'm bringing to a situation, if my idea of freedom is I can, like Stephanie was saying, I can do whatever I want or I can get whatever I want, but I have this greedy, selfish, and a like self-absorbed sort of way, manipulative, some sort of corruption, like I don't want the best for everybody, then that's not real freedom because that's not real love. And there's a harmonization that happens with freedom and love because love that begins with a capital L. And if you've read any of my writing, you know that when any character talks about love, it's never the lowercase L unless it is that kind of faux love, which for me is more of the cultural, societal iteration of something that feels maybe kind of good in the moment, but it doesn't last. It's very fleeting. And so I think that's part of the idea of the faux freedom is also something that's very fleeting. It's very temporary. It doesn't have a long shelf life or a permanent place. It doesn't have the strength and the fortitude to say, I love you no matter what. There's breaks and there's rifts and there's divisions in that. Like Ray, you and I have talked about love keeps no record of wrongs. That's freedom. When there's records of wrongs, when there is little tally marks where there's you did this and so that I'm going to take away from you for that and I'm going to restrict you for this or whatever, like that's not real freedom. And so for me, and again, this is very, very big box, a very big picture. It's a giant subject that is going to take us some time, even after this episode is over, and our conversations between the two of us, between you and I, Ray, between the three of us as we move on with our groups and stuff. But like that's just kind of a tipping point or an appetizer of sorts for the difference between the two.
Would you say, because I think that a lot of times that what we want to equate freedom with is something that we can experience with our senses. So I can tell someone is free because they don't appear to be in bondage.
Mhm.
And at the same time, I think it's entirely possible that the person who is literally in prison with a life sentence can be more free than the person who put them there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
1000%.
How is that even possible
Hmm.
if freedom is what we normally define as freedom?
Well, that's why for me it's not necessarily a tangible thing, and it's not beholden to tangible things. Um, the, it's it's what Neville talks about when he refers to mental diets. And if you're not familiar with Neville Goddard, he was a metaphysical mystic teacher from the 30s through the 70s. Um, but one of the things he talked about was we are always creating our reality around us. We're always creating things and experiences that attract certain experiences into our mind, into our lives, and we do that through our feelings and through our thoughts. And when you put those two things together, you have really, universal power to move mountains and all sorts of things. But if I am so if I'm in prison, then I probably don't have access to the internet. So I'm not being bombarded by 8 billion different messages from social media. I could probably try to care about what's popular and what's not, but it doesn't really make a difference because I don't have access to any outside social anything. And so the thing that matters the most to me is getting up in the morning, going and doing whatever it is I'm going to do. Probably staying out of trouble because that would be my mentality. But like I'm not surrounded by all of the information smorgasbord of craziness that you and I are around, and the three of us are around all the time if we choose to go down those roads. So it would be, in a way, a little bit easier, maybe a lot easier to have a firm, strong, heavy mental diet of being able to focus on just one thing than it is for those of us that, spend any amount of time in any sort of digital online space. And so it would be easier to cut away the fat or to have a very regimented diet of thoughts because we're not surrounded by the same sort of distractions that the common person is.
At the same time, do you think it's possible? That's a choice too, though, because the person in prison with a life sentence, they have a choice too. Their choice is presence,
Hmm.
right? Or they can just be in there resenting everything that they did
Yeah.
that put them there, or scared to death about the rest of their time there because they know they're never going to get out.
Yeah.
And so I've always said I've said this a lot in a lot of different ways, that we have a tendency to think that the things that distract us are the things that are outside of us, like the internet, like social media, like television, whatever it is. There's always a reason, but there's always been those reasons. So if what keeps me from being present are those things, then why did our ancestors struggle so much with being present? Why did our grandparents struggle so much with being present? Why did their parents struggle so much? They didn't have those things. They had other things. And the reason I think it is going back to the guy in prison, or the gal in prison. Your choice is to be present or not. What keeps you from being present is two things. One is an obsession with the past, and the second one is fear or anxiety over the future.
Yeah.
Those two things always exist, but they don't exist out here. They exist in here. So those are the things that keep me from being present. I can blame the other things because it gives me something outside of myself
Yeah.
to assign the bad guy role to.
Yeah.
and you're wearing your Captain America shield, so that's perfect when we're going to talk about bad guys. Not because he's a bad guy, but because of what he did to bad guys. But if you're going to be present, I mean, look at Zoe. Zoe has no problem being present. That she's like, yeah, I'm just here, right? But I mean, okay, she's a dog. I get that, but she's still, in a way, making the choice not to be distracted by anything that could distract her. Now, squirrel, right? If you watch the movie Up, but
Well, for her, the squirrel has to run right out in front of her, like 2.5 feet away for her to even notice that it exists. So you're very much right at that. She's very present with whatever is happening in the moment.
Yeah.
yeah. So
What
when
if,
I think of presence, when I think of freedom, actually, I would also tie that in with presence for that very reason, because how can I be free in a moment that I'm not in?
yeah. Yeah. I keep thinking of, I don't know if it's Viktor Frankl. It's one of the like well-known Holocaust survivors. So it might be him. I might be thinking of a different survivor, but there was a quote that basically said, like my own prison was actually my own mind. It wasn't the prison that I was in. It was what I was choosing to believe about my experience. And there was like this unwavering commitment of like being present with self love. And I'm not quoting anymore, but what I took away from what he said was, and I'm learning this too, like, can I be kind to myself no matter what I'm experiencing? And can I choose to be present, like you're saying, no matter what I'm experiencing? And like for me, a huge part of this true, authentic freedom is taking autonomy over my breath. And it seems like such a simple thing, but we're taught that all of these other things are going to guarantee us happiness and freedom. And if we just do the right thing, we get so hung up on right, and freedom's like a reward system, right? Or I just said right, but it's really about going back to what Ray was saying, like this constant ongoing commitment to be present enough with myself to feel the things I don't want to feel, and to work that out so that when I come back to engage with other people, like I'm ready and willing to have conversation and maybe hear things that I don't even really want to hear. But it goes so far beyond the faux freedom of I get what I want whenever I want it. That's what I feel like the Americanized freedom is. If I do the right thing, I'll get what I want whenever I want it. And there's no boundaries there. It doesn't work. It crumbles. So, yeah.
That's actually more the definition of tyranny than it is freedom.
And yet that's like when you were asking, like, how would you describe the freedom that I was conditioned to believe in really was I get what I want when I want it because I'm a good person doing all the right things.
Following all the rules.
And I'm like, I'm really in this space right now where I'm unlearning all of this conditioning. And it's so funny because that definition of freedom has kept me in bondage. I've been trying to live someone else's life, be somewhere else, do all the things, and I'm not free. I feel it in my body. I get like, I mean, you see it in me. I get like tense and my muscles, I don't know. I feel like an aged rubber band that no longer snaps. Like it's just been stretched out and it breaks. So that way of freedom doesn't work, is what I'm learning. Yeah.
The freedom to me, I think when I was thinking about this, because obviously we were going to have this conversation on our other call. So I was thinking a little bit about, I thought about it a lot before in relation to scripture, because that's how I was raised and how scripture defines freedom, or doesn't necessarily actually define it, but you almost have to kind of read between the lines where, like stand fast, therefore, in the liberty wherewith Christ has made you free, and be not entangled again with the yoke of bondage. Okay, well, what does that mean? I don't know. So like I could choose to go with whatever I was told that it meant, or I could start looking for other places where there's tie-ins.
Yeah.
And one of them is I start thinking about the yoke. So because Jesus said, take give it all to him, right? His yoke is easy and his burden is light. Okay, so the yoke of bondage is probably the opposite of easy and light.
Mm.
As if his yoke is easy and light, then the yoke of bondage is the opposite of that, or the absence, whatever you want to say. So if I'm not feeling easy and light, that's a pretty good barometer of what I'm carrying.
Yeah. Hard and heavy, right?
It's hard and heavy. It's like I can't, and I feel like I can't put it down. But it's like, why are we afraid to put it down when it isn't ours to carry?
Unless we've been convinced that it is.
This kind of reminds me of what Kimberly was talking about.
Mhm.
Yes, it's exactly what Kimberly was talking about. And I actually talked about this. I was a guest on a podcast actually just dropped on Friday, but I actually talk about it in that, like, the reason we're exhausted isn't the reasons we think we're exhausted. The reasons we're exhausted is because we're carrying what we're not supposed to carry.
Yeah.
So for context sake, since the three of us heard Kimberly's message and Kimberly's not present here, let's can we give
You want me to say?
Yeah, please give an overview of.
Yeah. So shout out to Kimberly, because I know she's going to listen to this. And Kimberly shared in our group chat for the CEO group that she was out and she was trying to get to an appointment, but she saw trash on the ground and she immediately felt like, and here's a key word for faux freedom, she felt like she should pick it up. And so, but she had this beautiful moment of pause, like, wait, I don't even have capacity in this moment. I need to get to my appointment to pick up this trash. It doesn't belong to me. If this is something that I need to do, I need to pause, give myself a chance, and then move forward and do whatever with the trash, whether it means do nothing or not. But she had this moment of pause. Like, why do I feel this sense of urgency to pick up the trash? And for her, she received a message from what I call Gus, which is God, universe, spirit. She got a message from Gus like, hey, this is a metaphor for how you've been so conditioned from a very young age to pick up everyone else's crap. And it's not for you to carry. And so she just felt this permission in that moment of, I don't need to pick up other people's crap. And I can engage when I choose to want to engage, but I like to carry the weight of other people's crap is not for me anymore. So she's experiencing deeper freedom in that.
Yeah.
Did I miss anything? Was there anything else you would add to her experience?
That you summed it up.
Okay.
It was a great example because it's like a literal example of what we all do every day.
Yeah.
When we're not paying attention. But it's more of the mental weight that we carry. Like, even what she was feeling had nothing to do with the piece of trash. It had nothing to do with the thing that was laying on the ground, whatever it was. It had everything to do with the battle that was happening inside of her head.
Yeah, and it's so heavy. I'm going through a very similar experience of realizing how quickly I go. And in a way, I do think women experience this more intensely. Like, from a young age, we're really taught you need to take care of everyone else's needs. You need to pick up everyone else's crap except for your own. Mm-hmm. And so then I'm left with double crap because I'm also not addressing my own crap. You know what I mean? And releasing that. And so I do feel really inspired by her experience and what she shared, because it's just like, to me, it's just this permission to be myself and permission to take care of myself and trust that as I'm living in that, you guys are going to be impacted by me living in that. And you both are already living that way and influence me. But the freedom, I think we also think that freedom is what we get from other people instead of a gift that we learn to receive. It's our birthright as divine spiritual beings. very similar to rest. But I find myself going back to, why is it so hard to receive the gift of freedom? We already have it. We're free. So why is it so hard to receive that gift? And and I guess we're kind of touching on it. We get so bound up with other people's stuff.
Well, I think it kind of goes into also this idea that we have to fight for it, that it's not present now. So much of it is what Ray was talking about earlier about presence, about in this present moment, what is really real, what is really true. And when we're living from a place of either being ashamed or regretful or angry about the past or fearful and anxious and concerned about the future, both of those are ego. God is in the present.
Yeah.
And in the present moment, here, everything is perfect and everything is good.
Yeah.
And so in that is where the freedom is. And so if there's something I still have to fight for, then it's not freedom. And so I think that kind of goes back into, every time I think about the American freedom idea, actually, I don't think of the Revolutionary War. I think of Nate Bargatze's SNL clip or scene, both of them, of him sitting around with the three other soldiers talking about, I envision a better place where we're going to change the English language and have measurements that don't make any sense and stuff like that. But this idea that we had to fight against a political party. And by the way, like in America, in the place where there's, supposed freedoms and stuff, like every 2 to 4 years, there's different groups of people that are trying to continuously sell us this idea that we have to fight for the freedoms that we already have.
Yeah.
Through elections and through defeating these parties and these ideals and these ideologies. And it's the same bullshit. It's repackaged and sold or attempted to be sold to us in other ways, but it's an ideology. It's a belief system because we already have the freedoms.
Yeah. Isn't it kind of ironic? You fight for freedom. It's supposed to be free, but we're so brainwashed, conditioned. Yeah, we have to fight for it. That's so interesting.
That I always like to offer reframes. You guys both know that. So the way that I reframe this is, and it goes back to things that I say to people all the time. Something that you said a minute ago made me think of this. I've had the opportunity to coach different business owners over the years, and when they get really emotionally bound up with anything, I challenge them to stop and think to themselves, what do I know to be true? Like, just drop everything that you're feeling in that moment and just ask yourself that question. What do you know to be true? Not about the situation, not about the other person, not about the circumstances that you're finding yourself in the middle of, but what do you know to be true about you? Just take a minute and just sit with that. And it always brings, if they're willing to do it, it always brings them back into the present moment, or at least a lot closer to it.
Yeah.
The freedom is a recognition. Freedom is not an achievement. We've been conditioned to think that freedom is an achievement. There's a goal that we are striving for, and that's not freedom. Freedom doesn't involve striving. It involves recognition. It involves letting go, not grasping. If I want to go with the flow in a river, what do? I let go. There's no striving. I'm just present with the flow. I'm Zoe.
Yeah.
But it's counterintuitive to our culture.
Yes.
It's counterintuitive to our race.
Yes.
The human race. It's counterintuitive to the human race. What do you mean you're just going to sit here for a second?
Yeah.
That's not allowed. You need to be doing something, right? Idle hands do the devil's work.
Hmm.
But I don't care what work you're doing if you're doing it with the devil's attitude.
Facts.
So if I'm, if I'm if I'm going skydiving, I can't do that without jumping out of the airplane. Like there's just so many examples of what freedom actually like. This is what freedom looks like.
Yeah.
Right? No, nobody's suggesting that you do it without a parachute. I'm not saying that. But and if you can't swim and you're in the river, don't let go and go with the current without a life jacket on. We
Yeah.
don't want you to drown, but
Yeah.
you be comfortable going with the flow.
Yeah. Give yourself the support you need to learn to embrace. It's really, to me, authenticity is so tied into all of this because I think we get so caught up in faux freedom because there's an identity issue there. We don't feel safe enough to just receive the gift. And it makes me, to be honest, I'm feeling a little sad thinking of how many wars are fought in the name of freedom. And it's not. It's like it kind of just blows my mind how easily we become convinced that this is something that we have to defend, you know? Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Well, don't stay there too long because that'll keep you from being present.
So I have you too in my life. You call me out. And because I think that's a huge part of freedom too. There's something about, like, I know with the three of us, we're in this agreement. Like, there's just a freedom to exist and explore. And sometimes other people's exploring initially can make me feel threatened because I'm not exploring over there. But there's a freedom there. They can go explore over there and take care of what they need to, and I can be over here. And there's this like underlying unity of freedom that's threading that. And I really do think I really like what you were saying, encouraging whoever's listening to this, like give yourself what you need. Like take time, I know for me, I mentioned it a little while ago, breathing, like just taking a few minutes to pause and breathe and ask, like Ray mentioned, what do I know to be true about me? And coming back to that truth, there's something really grounding in that. But a big thing I've had to let go of so I can stay in freedom is not having to live by somebody else's rules. I can't do it anymore. That's the way, to me, that kind of ties back into Kimberly, what she was sharing. Like, I can't carry all the rules of everyone else. It's been like the opposite of freedom. It's almost been like hell in a way. It's too heavy and it's too much. So anyways, I think I'm just trying to communicate to the listener, like there's a freedom in exploring freedom. And if you're feeling these nudges, give into that and have conversations with people and talk about it. You're not alone in it. We get to explore it together. Yeah.
The fun in that is when you get to a point where you start to realize that all you really need to do is explore.
Yes.
It's just, it's kind of like you notice something that you didn't notice before, but you don't need to get stuck in the noticing. You
Yeah.
just notice, right? Like, oh, well, that's interesting. Or, oh, crap, right? Whatever it is. But don't stay there. It's like just keep exploring. So you notice, all right, now you notice the next thing.
Yeah.
And that's all you're really doing is noticing because you can't experience recognition without noticing it.
Yeah.
So the key to finding anything is being willing to explore and notice what you see.
Yeah.
And you don't make anything out of it. It's not you don't turn it into a practice. And then there's practices can be useful. Don't get me wrong. I mean, they get you to where they get you to another place.
Yeah.
But the danger is
A floating
getting stuck in the new place.
Oh, Will you say that one more time? Sorry, I got the image of like having floaties on the river. You know, like you have your practices initially and then you'll feel safe enough to swim. But what was your last thought? I didn't mean to interrupt.
Oh, no, that's fine. We were just having a conversation. So, and we're not allowed to apologize. We apparently did not have that conversation with you before asking you to be a guest.
Oh, not apologizing unnecessarily.
So I learned
Yep.
this. I learned this from being a Presbyterian back when I was that. I guess I technically still am because you can never, once you're in for good. But my Cliff Stewart, our minister pastor, I don't know what you call him. I screwed up one day and I told him I was going to do something and then I asked if I could get out of it and he's like, oh yeah, no problem. And I was like, I'm so sorry. He's like, no, 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 no. We're Presbyterians. We don't apologize. Like everything's fine. And then when Ray and I started talking, he's like, no, 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 don't apologize. We're just everything's fine. I'm like, oh, so you're Presbyterian too. And that's kind of like where it all came. But like there, we're living in a place of a state of consciousness. There is no guilt and there is no shame. And in that is freedom and perfection. And so there's no need to apologize.
Okay.
There you go. And this will go along with what you were saying. Let's tie in your example of having the floaties on, because that's the safe place for you floating down the river. Is the danger then is you can get stuck there. Well, now I'm stuck there because I feel, okay, I'm experiencing freedom, but I'm not experiencing true freedom yet because I still need the floaties. So there's a danger in that. I mean, and there's nothing wrong with if you're there and you're experiencing life in a completely different way and you're just happy experiencing life that way now compared to what you did before, that's perfectly fine. But if your goal is to keep moving, eventually you're going to have to figure out another way.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see both sides because in some way, like there are some floating devices to carry on the metaphor that I'm using in my life right now that I've given myself permission to have these flotation devices to help me stay on this journey while also knowing and reminding myself I'm not going to always have to rely on them. It's a grace right now in this season. And so I think it's unique to every person. And I really believe this is such a huge part of freedom, like permission to do what you know you need to do to take care of yourself. And the only way you're going to know what you need to do is if you're spending time with yourself. It goes back to being present. And I think it's really important to emphasize like guilt and shame can be initially really good motivators, like they can get you going, but they're not sustainable. And so I've learned a practice in my life is if I'm starting to feel guilty, if I'm starting to feel overwhelmed, if I'm starting to get the racing thoughts, I feel the tightness in my throat. Instead of wishing I wasn't feeling that way, it goes back to maybe what Ray was talking about when he had a client who was getting all frazzled, just asking the question. I think it's good to ask, what do I know to be true about myself? And David's been helping me with this other question. What is it that I actually need? And just being free and giving myself that kind of support so that I can keep moving forward, because I get so caught up again in all the rules that everyone else has told me, but they're not serving me anymore. It's like they became bars to the jail cell, to go with that metaphor. Yeah.
Yeah. Nobody is suggesting, I'm not suggesting that if the only way you can let go is if you have floaties on, that you shouldn't let go. That's not what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like you need to start that process because that is way more freeing than gripping whatever it is that you're holding on to because you're fighting going with the current.
Yes. Oh, I've fought so much against the current. Oh, I can just, like when you say it, I feel it in my body. Like I don't want to do that anymore. It's not worth it.
Mm.
Yeah.
And it's probably similar to the feeling that we all felt when we heard Kimberly's message this morning. Like how much am I really carrying? How much am I picking up even
Yeah.
right? I pick it up and I carry it and I don't even remember that I'm carrying it. And
Yeah.
then I pick up the next thing and the next thing and then eventually I'm always exhausted because I'm not just carrying the thing that I just picked up, I'm carrying everything else that I picked up. I
Yeah.
never put it down.
Yeah.
And I think part of the reason why I pick stuff up is this was true for me for a very long time. Fear of being alone.
Mm.
And by picking up other people's stuff and showing care and concern
Hmm.
and kindness in a way can evolve or flip over into niceness. So I have a connection of sorts with this idea that kind and nice are synonymous when they're not. Kindness is an act of love. It's 1 Corinthians 13, the second ingredient listed in what is composed of love after patience. And I think that that's because very similar to if you flip over on the back of anything, the list of ingredients, the first thing that's listed is what is in the highest supply inside that product or whatever. You need a lot of kindness to operate in real capital L love that is divine. Niceness is more of the codependent doing things for other people in order to feel better about yourself or in order to fill some sort of void. It can often be very codependent. It can also often be very needy. It can often be very insecure and weak. I did all these things for you. Why won't you give me this thing? I carried all this baggage for you. Why won't you see me? Why won't you notice me? Why won't you talk to me? I know that because I operated in niceness for a very long time.
Yeah.
I operated in niceness when I thought I was operating in kindness, and it took me being willing to be alone. Something you were talking about a minute ago of like spending time with myself and like coming to terms with, oh, I actually, hmm, I actually haven't been as free as I thought I was. I had a lot of faux freedoms and I projected a lot of pain onto people and then called that truth and called that love. And I'm going to apologize in my heart and spiritually to the hearts and spirits of these people that maybe I'll talk to them again, maybe I won't, but this is actually not between me and them, it's between me and God. And I can recognize that by me getting over my fear of being alone, I'm actually from and embracing more real freedom and more real love and letting go of carrying so much stuff. And now I can actually release these things that I've been carrying from other people because it's maybe it was mine or it was something that benefited me at some point, but I can actually let it go and let it go with peace instead of letting it go with regret or with bitterness or with resentment or hostility or anything else.
Yeah.
Now you can just notice before what you use the word codependent, and I struggled with this for many years as well. You realize after, or I realized that what I was doing when I thought I was being kind was just enabling.
Dang.
And that's not freeing for me or them.
Yeah.
And so for me then it's almost like I became the jailer.
Yeah.
And never really thought of it that way until it was pointed out. And then even when it's pointed out, if you're not willing to notice when it happens and think about it while it's happening, it doesn't really matter. You still have to notice. Right? Now because I think it was also Viktor Frankl that said he's where I got the concept of the half second. You know, the moment between stimulus and response. That's where power lives.
Yeah.
Like your true power lives in that moment between the stimulus and your response. What you decide or decide not to happen in that split second or that moment determines everything after it.
Yeah.
And sometimes what you need to decide is to do nothing, which to the other person, a lot of times feels very unkind.
Yes.
because their expectation is that that's what kindness looks like.
Yeah.
Because they don't understand the difference between kindness and niceness or enablement.
Totally.
And that's okay, right? How are they supposed to learn if nobody shows them?
Yeah.
Not nobody tells them, but nobody shows them.
Important distinction.
Yes.
Yeah, and what I'm picking up on too is this pattern of faux freedom's really rooted in fear.
Mm-hmm.
And true freedom, I really think, is rooted in forgiveness.
Mm-hmm.
Like you were just expressing that. You both in your own way kind of expressed when we're interacting with other people. I mean, if they get used to us playing that savior role, if you get caught up in the drama triangle of victim, for people who haven't heard it, it's victim, savior, and
victim, villain, and hero. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I think initially, I really do get convinced that if I'm not willing to help, because what is help? How do we describe help, right? If I'm not willing to help that person, it makes me this mean person, but I'm just not playing that role in their life anymore, And so when I give myself permission to not play that role and I actually turn that energy back towards me and give myself what I need, then I can continue to show up, but not be so impacted. Like, you were talking earlier, you used to do it to get people to like you, essentially. So you felt validated. So it just everything we're saying, I'm just realizing so quickly you can get so enmeshed in these things. And a really good indicator is that feeling of fear.
Yeah.
If I'm in faux freedom. And also, I'm feeling led to just say, because if someone's listening to this and they're wanting to go deeper in freedom, expect people to not keep showing up in your life if you don't keep playing these toxic roles. And initially I used to think, oh, that relationship is failing, but really it was just being let go and released, and it's not a reflection of my identity or my worth. I can remain grounded in knowing that, like Ray was saying, this could be the kindest thing. I have a deep relationship with addiction with other people in my life that I've had to navigate and learn how to set boundaries in that. And they don't like it at first, but it's the kindest thing I could have done for them, even though it didn't necessarily feel good.
And also on that note, like I wrote a book in 2019 called Be Solid, How to Go Through Hell and Come Out Whole. And it was about my journey into self-love after going through divorce. And one of the things that I talked about in there is as you begin to love yourself, you might find that your relationships change. Just like you said, some people might not want to hang out, or some people might seem to think that like your shift in the way that you're treating yourself is you rejecting them. And that's not necessarily the case. But one of the things that I had to accept and embrace, in a sense, is that some relationships might shift. Some relationships might end and be okay. Like I'm somebody that typically tries to hang on and make things last forever.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been recognizing that that's actually a scarcity consciousness model. Because if it's strong and if it's genuine love, then I can hold it with open hands and it can come and go and do what it needs to do. And I don't need to control it or manipulate it or have fear wrapped around it that I have to grip onto and try to hold on and make it work. But in that node, like there's going to be phases where I'm going to come in and out of people's lives and they're going to come in and out of my life. And it's just part of the journey. Like we're still on the same path, but our pathways kind of weave in and around each other. And again, open hands, being peaceful about that. And it keeps bringing me back to what something Ray keeps reminding me about in our conversations, that love keeps no record of wrongs. It's totally forgiveness. And then even in a place of forgiveness where you get to a spot where it's like, I don't even need to forgive you because there's nothing to forgive. I'm not, there was no wrong here. Everything that happened was actually love. It just disguised itself in different ways. It's a Mother Teresa approach of seeing Jesus in all of his distressing disguises and seeing the ways that God has showed up in my life and disguised himself, herself, itself, through the lens or through the mask of sorts of these different people that showed me different parts of myself. and ways for me to be the love that I want to experience in the world. And sometimes it's taken me having to go through all kinds of different evolutions to have that kind of experience. But all through all of those different iterations is being in a perpetual state of gratitude and appreciation for people, no matter what it is that they're showing up like in my life. And as I'm saying that, here comes Zoe to come sit over in my lap. So how perfect.
Hmm.
I know that a lot of times people hear conversations like this and then they start to, the wheels start turning in their head like, what do I need to do with this?
Hmm.
And because that's how we're conditioned. Like there's got to be, like, how do I notice? Like what do I do to notice? And it's like I don't know how to tell somebody what they need to do to notice, but I can tell them what they should start to try to pay attention to as they're trying to notice.
Yeah.
And some of that goes back to what you were saying, and it's all tied to. And we talked about, love is patient, love is kind, and then also in there is love keeps no record of wrongs. And there's no footnote, there's no but. It's like the only keeps a record of these wrongs, or only keeps a record of those wrongs. It's no wrongs.
Yeah.
The hardest part about this is our unwillingness to accept who we are. Not, and I shouldn't say that. I don't like even using that term anymore. I catch myself doing it more often than I should because who implies an identity. Who are you? Like that's who is an identity thing. That's like that now I have things I assign to that. But what are you? What are you is different. So when I forget what I am, then I start judging. And I start judging myself first. Well, if I'm judging myself, I'm not loving myself.
Yeah.
Because I'm keeping a record then. If I'm judging you, I'm not loving you because I'm keeping a record. I can't keep a record and judge at the same time. That's just not those two things don't go together, right? So that's what's the old Sesame Street song. So like two of these things, like there's something here that doesn't belong.
Oh,
right?
okay, yeah. Yeah.
So what am I going to notice? Well, notice when you're judging. You're going to know when you're judging because when you start to think about it, you're going to feel it.
Yeah.
Now, what do you do with that? Well, you stop. There's not a framework for it. You just stop. And because if you want to love yourself, you can't love your neighbor as yourself if you don't love yourself.
Yeah.
Well, you can't love yourself if you're judging. You can't judge and not keep a record of wrong. It's this loop that we think that we're stuck in is really simple. Didn't say easy, right? Simple and easy are not the same thing.
Yeah.
But everything is hard until it isn't. It's like riding a bike. When you start to notice, then you like, oh, that was cool. What's next, right? So then you're noticing the next thing. And then as you keep noticing, then the noticing becomes more of what you do.
Yes.
And now it's not hard anymore.
Yeah.
Now you can be like, and you don't notice to beat yourself up. That's the other problem with most of the self-improvement or self-help industry's advice, right? You're not noticing to beat yourself up. It's data. It's information.
Yeah.
Like, oh, crap. I didn't catch myself in the moment. Next time I'm in that same moment, I want to catch myself.
Yeah.
Before I do the thing that I did that made me say, oh, crap.
Yeah. So it's really like there's just a permission to be present, right? That's what I'm hearing you say. Like permission to not to figure everything out. Permission to not try the next protocol. We don't have a life hack for our listeners, right? On how to
There's no framework.
like speed your way to freedom.
There's not a program. There's not a checklist. There's not Ray and I talk about this a lot.
Yeah.
It's this is the journey we're all on, and and maybe I should just give Ray the space to talk his own thing out. The lie is that we are separated. And so the more that we need a program or a solution or a whatever, we're buying into the illusion.
Well, and I keep thinking of Kimberly's example. She could have gone in like, "Oh, I'm a terrible person if I don't pick this trash up. I'm awful. I have to pick this trash up." But then she doesn't have time to do it. Well, what idiot threw the trash on the ground? There's the projection happening. And so she just chose to observe and notice, and there was so much kindness in what, because she did end up going back to pick the trash up, but it was when she had capacity, right? So I think there's so much permission and freedom. And I know as someone myself, I just want the quick fix and the fast, like I've been trained to want that, but it doesn't work. And so it really is like, if you can give into this kindness and this forgiveness, like what we're really talking about, it's not a program or a quick fixer. It's not that at all. What keeps coming up for me is this is really a way of life. Like we're really committing to a way of life. And one of my favorite teachers says sometimes, I'll say a shout out to Heath Reed. He says sometimes the most productive thing you can do is nothing. And so I think that's a lot of it. Like, are you giving yourself time and space to just be reflective and curious? Like when you notice you did something you don't like, you don't have to beat yourself up over it. You can just reflect of, what was that? And what am I actually needing? Why am I acting in that way? Did I forget what I am? Let me get back to what I am and then go from there. Yeah.
Well, we didn't get any kind of like a pushback or a dissenting voice from our guest.
Oh gosh, no.
Yeah, that's a good point. But Stephanie doesn't really. She challenges, but she challenges with love, and it's a beautiful thing to experience.
Thank you.
I wasn't saying that because I was expecting it. I was just kind of making an observation.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of what we talk about, like, to be honest, I don't know if we're coming to an end soon, but one of the things that came up for me that maybe we can talk about at another time is like, how does this tie into all of the social justice and racism? And like, to be honest, there's a little part of me that's like, don't talk about that. But I am curious, like how do we talk about slavery within the context of the way that we're describing this freedom that is our birthright that can't be taken away? But we become so convinced, you know what I mean? And so it seems like in the time that we're living in, there's so much tension and like demanding of justice. And honestly, I don't think it's working, And so that was coming up for me while we were talking.
Well, that's a hard place for most people to go because it's an easy place for most everybody to stay. And because they want to stay there, it's hard for them to have the other conversation that we just had.
Yeah.
Because you say, well, what about racism? What about inequality in whatever way, shape, or form? Well, who's deciding that that's slavery? Who's deciding that that's racism? Who's deciding that that's not equal?
Yeah.
And now I'm back to an arbitrary measuring system that's all based on judgment, which is based on perception, which by definition is partial. So I'm having arguments about everything that exists on top of a false foundation. I don't want to question the false foundation, because if I have to question the foundation, then everything that I built on top of it has to be questioned. I'd rather argue about the stuff that was built on top of it. So if I can keep you focused on everything that's all the lies that are built on top of the original lie, then you never look at the original lie. You're just constantly focused on, so then where's freedom?
Yeah.
So you can't have the conversation about social justice or racism or political dissent, whatever you want to say, you can't have that conversation and have it be about freedom in any way, shape, or form because it's not built on that foundation.
Yeah. Yeah.
And to me, that's the key to letting it go, is understanding that, okay, we've got to go back to the foundation that's true. And we have to build on that foundation.
Yeah.
And we can put, and Dee and I have talked about this, but you can put anything. We talked about this on the last episode. You can put any institution in that spot.
So true.
If I can keep you focused on those things, then you'll never look at the foundation that's cracked or the foundation that's broken or the foundation that's false.
Yeah.
And because if you look at that foundation, then everything collapses. All of that stuff collapses into the nothingness that it actually is.
Yeah.
But if I can keep you arguing about it, it sure doesn't feel like nothing.
Yeah.
And
sorry, that was a little soapbox there. So yes, we did have time for that question.
You apologize, though. I'm here. No apologies.
No apologies, but I get really passionate about that because it's one of those things that I think that if you're willing to look, once you see it, you can't unsee it.
I really appreciate you saying that because I had an experience earlier this year. And the way I was receiving what was being presented was I was essentially a racist. But like, I'm really committed to any person who comes into my awareness. Like, I just want to get to know them. I want to get curious about their experience. I don't want to automatically ascribe a label to them just because that's what this goes back to someone else's rules they told me. And so I just feel I'm glad that you shared what you did because it is there's so much faultiness in the foundation. And then what happens with faulty, it's everyone else's fault because it's a faulty foundation, right?
Drama triangle galore.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And where does that keep you? It doesn't allow you to be present. None of it allows you to be present.
Yeah. It's like, ugh.
Like you're only present with the past. And if you're only present with the past, you're just raging at ghosts.
Yes. That's so good.
Well, and you just reminded me that one of the ways that we experience freedom is to get out of the drama triangle.
Yeah.
So when you notice that you feel like somebody's a villain in your story, well, you're playing a part then too. And if you feel like you're the victim and somebody else is the villain and you're looking for a hero, man, you got to transcend that.
Yeah, it's a tough one, and it's really hard for other people to understand it when you say it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, D. So how do you do that? You've got it all figured out. You're the expert. Never said that, homeboy.
Yeah.
No, I never said that. They're like, why don't you have a relationship with these people? These are people you should have a relationship with. I was like, you need to just go talk to them. Been there, done that. It didn't work. I said, so here's how I look at it. I have a choice. I can either decide that I'm a victim of the way they've treated me, which makes them a villain, right? But who likes victims? I mean, we hate it when people have a victim mentality, but we love it when it's us.
And then we wonder why no one likes us.
And then we wonder what the problem is. Well, okay, so then I said, so here's my choice. Then I can decide. It doesn't need to hurt me.
Yeah.
It's my choice.
Yeah.
But if I go talk to them and tell them how what they said or what they did made me feel, now I'm making them a victim and I'm a villain.
Yeah.
Who wins?
It's inverted power. So when I've learned to give myself permission to not get caught up in that dynamic you were just talking about, I have so much more energy. Like I'm getting more energy back. I'm realizing I've outsourced so much of my energy because it like my freedom is so dependent on what other people do. But when I'm like permission to not give them that authority in my life, I don't even need it from them anymore because I'm being for me who I need to be to stay free.
So I'm going to ask this question gently
Okay.
because I'm asking it. I'm asking it because we are fortunate to have the female perspective.
Okay.
How safe is it to say for me, stop outsourcing your emotional regulation?
So you're asking me what does it feel like for me hearing you say that?
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, heck yeah, I don't want to keep outsourcing. So like here's the thing.
How about you 6 months or a year ago?
Oh gosh, I couldn't function without expecting another person to show up for me in a very specific way. And if they didn't, yeah, I'm the victim, they're the villain. But in
What changed? What changed then?
gosh, I feel like a lot of things have changed, but let me sit for a moment. I think the biggest shift for me is realizing self-love, like the reality of self-love, the freedom that comes from self-love. I've read a book recently called I Love Me More by Jenna Banks, and she does this beautiful job of sharing her own experiences, but she inspired me to really start to get curious when I'm outsourcing. Um, it's not even emotional regulation. There's so many things we've been convinced that we have to rely on other people to get our needs met. And I think speaking as a woman who's so conditioned to meet other people's needs, like I talked about earlier, it was very confusing to me when I felt like I was giving my everything for everyone else, but wasn't getting anything back in return. Well, what shifted is I'm really genuinely living in the belief that I have everything I need from within me. And it's just a matter of being present enough, still enough. Um, I don't even really think it's a bravery thing. I think our nervous system learns so many. Like I was talking to a friend today, this is another shift. I believe that I'm perfect. And in the past, I would have called bullshit on that. I would have said it was blasphemous, even coming from the religious background that I came from. But now I'm like, no, perfection is I have everything I need to navigate through this moment. And I genuinely believe that. And so I don't really believe that I have flaws anymore or weaknesses. I just have adaptations that I'm outgrowing that aren't working anymore.
Beautiful. At some point, then, did you notice when the shift happened? Because it had to feel very freeing.
I think it's honestly happened within, like, really going deep into this has happened within like the past few days, if I'm being honest, which is why it's so beautiful we're having this conversation. Because
Hmm.
I think if we had talked about this last week, I would have said something like, well, and I do still believe this. I just don't believe it as much. Like, I'm not needing it as much. I absolutely find myself needing my husband in some moments where I'm just totally ungrounded, freaking out, stuck in old patterns, old stories cropped up. And he does bring his presence in. And because he is such an advocate of self-love and he lives it out so authentically, he can hold that space for me and he's not personalizing anything I'm saying. And so the more I've had that experience with him, he's been teaching me, oh, I can do this with myself in any moment. And I think it is really important that we have each other. I think there's a reason, there's a collective consciousness. There's a reason we're all here. But I think we very quickly become convinced, whether it's culture, trauma, whatever experience you've had in the past that's reinforced that somehow I'm lacking without other people. It's not that I'm lacking without you too. It just makes for a richer experience. Look at how rich of an experience we've had today, and I can go wild in my own mind with all of that my own heart. But gosh, isn't it fun to talk about it with other people? And then when you build that trust, when you're having a harder moment, they can be a mirror back to you of like, whoa, whoa, whoa. What do you already know about yourself? And what do you need in this moment? It's just such a beautiful process. I feel so blessed to have both of you in my life. You're part of the reason, Ray, just so you know, why I've been making this major shift back into self-love. Like it really is, it's not even about I'm becoming whole. You said this, I'm remembering my wholeness. That's what's shifting for me.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I have this. This is in my book, Start with Stop, and because we talk so much about the present moment, I'm going to tie it into what you just said. We have, like, if the present moment is all that really exists, right? The past is the past, and the future never happens. So if all that is exists in reality is right now, then I can't be any more perfect than I am right now. That's the complete opposite of what the world wants you to believe.
Absolutely.
They want you to believe, the world will tell you you can't be any more imperfect than you are right now. Right. And I even say this in my book. I actually say I call bullshit.
I just said that. Yeah. That's some bullshit.
Yeah. So, because you were talking about rules earlier, rule with a B in front of it. That's a bullshit rule.
Oh, cruel. Okay.
So now you can use that term if you want to. But we are perfect, right? We can't be any more perfect than we are right now.
Yeah.
We're programmed to think the complete opposite. It's just upside down.
Absolutely. And David said this to me over the weekend. He said, I'm my favorite person. And to me, that is such a beautiful expression of self-love. Like you love yourself so much. And what I've had to unlearn is self-hate. Like, how's that working for me? It's not going well. We're conditioned to self-hate. But man, when I really start to enjoy myself, I think I had a fear, and there's that fear motivating. It's not helpful that I was going to become some egotistical, narcissistic sinner, just stuck in hell, like all of that. And it's like, no, I'm just learning how to fall in love with myself. And as my husband said, become my own favorite person. And it's just, I hope whoever listens to this, if any of this is like, even if it sounds strange and you're like, no, like maybe just sit with it. You always say that, Ray. Go and sit with this and just see what could your life look like if you really committed to becoming your own favorite person. And then in that, you're learning how to hold that space for other people. It's such a beautiful process.
Yeah, it's it's Jesus's synopsis of the commandments. You love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and then you love your neighbor as yourself. Yeah. I can't love anyone. I can't love God or my neighbor past my capacity to love myself.
Right.
I'm the one that stands in the middle of that.
So cool.
And you can argue that with me if you want to, but good luck. I mean, just read it again, but slowly.
Yeah.
So that's a beautiful thing. So that must tie into, well, you made a comment when we were having a conversation through text earlier. You said something about a giant permission slip.
Yeah.
That's what you were talking about?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, learning to love myself.
Yes, giving yourself permission.
Yes.
Yeah.
And there is something to that, like I give myself permission. This goes into freedom. It's your choice. Yeah.
I feel like this is a good place for us to put a little bookmark in and wrap up our time together and invite Stephanie back again if she wants to join us for a future AAA experience.
Totally. I love myself to come back and have an experience like that. Yeah.
Awesome.
Very cool. Well, I want to just say one thing. I love ending on a blessing. And so I want both of you to be blessed, and I want our listeners to be blessed that may you be blessed in being free to be you.
Hmm.
May you be blessed in letting go of other people's rules and bullshit. May you be blessed in just falling so in love with yourself. And yeah, may you be blessed in just the journey of self-love and learning to enjoy the process and have fun. And it's not always easy, but it is simple. And yeah, if anyone wants to come and join us on a Monday, we'd love to have you there because that's what we're doing. We're just blessing and observing. And yeah, I love you both. And I love who's ever listening to this.
And thank you for that reminder. So if you're interested in reaching out that way, check the show notes. And that has the contact information in it. We would love to connect with you in a different way if that's what you're interested in.
No life hacks allowed. Is that a good note to end on?
Yeah.
Okay.